Poor Jimmy. True, it was a terrible night for women, children, and for the hundreds of thousands of hard-working immigrants who cut his lawn.
It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare.
You know what? If I ever cry on TV, it'll be because Maroon 5 put out a new song. But that's it. You big
and painfully funny.
Back in the day when I was on the prime time of Fox and you were on the prime time of CNN, a couple of hours after our shows ended, late night comics would come on, and they occasionally would make us laugh, Piers. I mean, occasionally they understood that they were in the game of making everyone laugh. As you know, they've abandoned that game now, and they're just political operatives out there. Colbert, Kimmel, Seth Meyers, who I struggle to even mention that guy's name. He's such an absolute I can't stand him. But anyway, it's just my thought bubble out loud.
Ever voted right of Bernie Sanders.
All right. So a Republican has won an election, and you know what that means. Jimmy Carter has to stay alive for 4 more years. It's also time for liberals to tell themselves that they're still right about everything and their hysteria and delusions of persecution are perfectly normal. Yet right now, they're melting like that stick of butter Joy Behar keeps between her thighs to prevent chafing. Case in point, last night, all the other late-night hosts threw a hissy fit. It's too bad Tim Waltz is still grieving, or he could...
With a studio budget.
Late-night host Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air after taking the summer off. He's missed a lot. Kimmel says if you're not vaccinated, you shouldn't get a hospital ICU bed. But I'm not sure if Jimmy was being sincere because he wasn't crying. Anyway, it's just funny hearing someone say, I see you, who nobody actually sees. Oh. Look, I don't want to suggest that Kimmel's show has become boring and predictable, but last night during the taping, people in the studio audience were changing the channel.
Greg Mann, who turned late night into a televised Tumblr post.
We took a look at some of their reactions to the news of Trump's win. Look at this.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate. It was a terrible night for poor people, for our allies in Ukraine.
Deflooring.
You know how much it costs to produce Jimmy Kimmel's show? I guarantee you it's tens and tens of millions. It could be as much as 100 million. I have no idea. You know how much Tucker's video cost? Nothing. You know how much Jimmy Kimmel, how many people he gets tuning in on an average night? Just last week, his average was, in the overall, meaning all viewers, 1.5 million. In the key demo, 236,000. Tucker would have been embarrassed to pull that on any night he was on the Fox News channel. That's what they're getting now. Tucker's numbers were 3 times what Jimmy Kimmel gets. And Tucker's little basement video that he did from clearly like his cabin that he broadcasts out of Maine in literally has 21 million views. Okay? 21 million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults because he looks a little silly.
This is the same.
You know it's bad when Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld tag team like the snarky Justice League, and their target, not some evil overlord, but Jimmy Kimmel's overinflated ego. What happens when late-night smug meets primetime shade? Absolute chaos. Kimmel didn't just get roasted, he got flambéed. If you thought Jimmy was above critique, think again. This wasn't a friendly jab. It was a full-scale verbal annihilation, and the best part? It was broadcast in 4K for everyone to witness. Let's be honest, Jimmy Kimmel today is what you get when comedy dies on the altar of sanctimony. Picture a high school vice principal trying to moonlight as Jon Stewart, but without the charisma or timing. If smugness were currency, Jimmy would be Forbes' richest man alive, sipping an oat milk latte, lecturing the crowd on carbon footprints while wearing $900 sneakers made by child labor. Remember when he used to host wet t-shirt contests? Now he talks like he's auditioning to be the next UN ambassador. It's not personal growth. It's a branding pivot so transparent it squeaks. This is the guy who once made his name on frat boy humor and prank shows. But somewhere along the line, Jimmy traded in the funny for finger-wagging and thinks we didn't notice. What used to be jokes are now diatribes dressed up as monologues, complete with dramatic pauses and just enough fake concern to earn Twitter applause. You can't even call it comedy anymore. It's moral performance art for people who nod instead of laugh. Jimmy didn't evolve. He evaporated into the ether of politically correct applause breaks. Enter Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld, two people who didn't come to play. They came to detonate. They didn't just take Jimmy's act to task. They peeled back the layers of his self-importance like a stale onion. Kelly, cool and collected, called him out for his hypocrisy without even raising her voice. Gutfeld, meanwhile, lit him up with punchlines sharper than Kimmel's entire writing staff. No cue cards, no nervous chuckles, just ruthless accuracy. Gutfeld didn't need a writer's room. He needed 5 seconds and the truth. Watching Gutfeld dismantle Jimmy was like watching someone pop a hot air balloon with a pencil. Quick, clean, and oddly satisfying. Kimmel keeps trying to prove he's clever, but every segment sounds like a group project presentation where he read one Wikipedia article and still insists on leading the whole show. His moral lectures have all the subtlety of a car alarm and the impact of lukewarm soup. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's jokes actually land because he remembers that comedy should be funny first, not a sanitized TED Talk on why Republicans are the boogeyman. Kimmel isn't edgy, he's safe. He's corporate-approved dissent packaged for coastal elites who want to feel rebellious without leaving their wine bars. He doesn't challenge the system, he is the system, just in skinny jeans and a frown. Late night used to be where comedians poked fun at everyone. Now it's where hosts whisper moral platitudes to the already converted. And Kimmel? He's the high priest of that sad temple, preaching to an audience trained to clap instead of laugh. Let's not forget Jimmy's so-called transformation. Back in the day, he was pulling juvenile pranks, tossing corny jokes, and being delightfully irreverent. Now he's draped in moral superiority like it's couture. He's not telling jokes, he's delivering sermons, and not even good ones. These are the kind of lectures that come with PowerPoint slides, triggered applause signs, and enough self-righteousness to power a wind farm. It's not wit, it's weakness dressed as woke. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's over on Fox proving you can still get laughs without a filter. No lectures, no guilt trips, just savage satire. And guess what? He's winning the ratings war. Kimmel's still trying to figure out how to make a Trump joke land in 2025, while Gutfeld's roasting the whole establishment like it's Sunday dinner. And the best part? He's not afraid to punch left, right, or sideways, something Jimmy seems to have forgotten how to do ever since he became a full-time virtue signaler. And then there's Jimmy's audience. Bless their hearts. You can almost hear the cue cards being flipped off stage. Clap, nod, look inspired. It's like group therapy for the politically anxious. No one's really laughing. They're just trying not to look problematic. Imagine walking into a comedy show and getting a lecture on climate guilt from a guy who used to throw pies at interns. That's not comedy. It's a hostage situation with better lighting. So what are we left with? A once funny host who sold his punchlines for applause lines, clapping seals in the audience, and a pair of critics, Kelly and Gutfeld, who finally called it like it is. Kimmel's not dangerous. He's not provocative. He's just predictable. Like a punk band that signs to Disney and starts writing acoustic love songs about composting. The only thing Jimmy's challenging anymore is our ability to stay awake through his monologue. Kelly zeroed in with pinpoint accuracy, exposing the soft underbelly of Jimmy Kimmel's entire persona. She didn't shout, she didn't mock, she just held up the facts. The man masquerading as late night's moral compass isn't brave, she argued. He's insulated, protected, and approved. Mocking your political opponents from a studio bankrolled by Disney isn't courage. It's performance cosplay in a multi-million-dollar echo chamber. And the tears, the dramatics, Kimmel has become a one-man waterworks. Every tragedy, every political moment, every press cycle, he's there, misty-eyed, emotionally trembling, hoping the applause will validate whatever moral lesson he's decided to teach that night. He's not emoting for change. He's emoting for clout. And Gutfeld? He nailed the diagnosis like a doctor with a grudge. He said what everyone else was thinking. Jimmy doesn't need new writers, he needs therapy. His show has devolved into a televised self-help seminar for a man who clearly hasn't processed his Hollywood guilt. Every segment feels like a confessional disguised as satire. It's not comedy, it's catharsis with a laugh track. And it's not even working. Viewers are tuning out because nobody wants to be finger-wagged at by someone who used to prank bikini models for a paycheck. His audience doesn't laugh anymore. They tolerate. His monologues don't hit. They land with the thud of a padded glove slapping a brick wall. Even his writing staff seems exhausted, like they're forced to churn out safe, sanitized content that reads more like passive-aggressive blog posts than punchlines. He's stuck in a feedback loop, writing jokes that feel more like lectures, delivered to a crowd trained to applaud, not react. And as the jokes lose edge, so does the man. Kimmel has become the comedy equivalent of reheated leftovers. Technically edible, but nobody's excited. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly delivered her critique with surgical coolness, pointing out how Kimmel has rebranded rebellion into something market-tested and HR-approved. He's not counterculture. He's culture's hall monitor, scolding the audience for misbehaving while cashing six-figure checks for it. Kelly and Gutfeld didn't set out to cancel Kimmel. They didn't have to. He's been slowly canceling himself with every monologue that sounds like it was written by a group of guilt-ridden interns afraid of Twitter backlash. His delivery's gone from sharp to sheepish, from playful to preachy. And the optics? Painful. Kimmel leans into the camera like he's about to confess a national secret, whispering punchlines like they're classified documents, hoping the fake gravitas makes up for the missing humor. It doesn't. It's like watching someone pitch a sitcom at a funeral. The tone is all wrong, the vibe off, and the only thing he's killing is the mood. And what's worse, when he's not moralizing, he's pandering, hard, trying to prove how in touch he is with real Americans while sitting in a multi-million-dollar set surrounded by writers with Ivy League degrees. He wants to be seen as one of us, but his idea of hardship is losing a SAG award. Kimmel's version of authenticity is a carefully curated Instagram post about empathy, sandwiched between yacht pics and red carpet glam. His comedy isn't for the people, it's for the press releases. Gutfeld, on the other hand, doesn't beg for relatability. He doesn't pretend to be someone he's not. He takes swings, makes you laugh, and doesn't apologize for it. And that's what makes this all so tragic. Jimmy Kimmel used to be funny. Now he's a screensaver with eyebrows, a gentle, blinking reminder that the glory days are over. He hasn't made a genuine, unapologetic laugh in years. Every joke comes wrapped in a disclaimer, and every punchline lands like a sigh. His viewers aren't fans anymore. They're survivors. And Megyn and Gutfeld simply pointed at the obvious. Kimmel is no longer dangerous, funny, or even particularly relevant. He's just there, floating in a sea of past relevance, buoyed only by nostalgia and networks, too afraid to say what we all know. But here's the twist. Jimmy might actually be okay with that. Because somewhere along the way, he stopped being a comedian and became a brand. A soft-spoken, virtue